Hello, Hannah Chelsea, the baby maven here, and I'm so excited to welcome you to today's expert interview. We have so much good stuff to talk about today, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to today's guest expert, Nicole Radziszewski. Nicole is a certified personal trainer specializing in postnatal fitness. After her second son was born, Nicole became frustrated with the amount of misinformation for new moms and the pressure to get her body back. She started searching for answers and found them in the work of leading pelvic floor physical therapists Diana Lee and Julie Weed, learning through a combination of live courses and self-study. In 2015, she founded Mama's Gotta Move Incorporated, a personal training and coaching business that helps moms safely return to fitness after pregnancy and move well in all aspects of their lives. Nicole lives in River Forest, Illinois, with her husband and two boys, ages 4 and 1. I know that you're going to love Nicole, so I'm going to pass it over to her so she can tell you a bit about herself and her business.
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for having me. And as Hannah said, I'm really excited about this because this is a cause that is very personal to me. I have two little boys. The oldest one is 4, the youngest one is 1. And after my second son was born, despite being very fit and taking care of my body during my pregnancy, I realized that sometimes there are things that we can't really predict or control that happen to our body when we're pregnant. And it's really important to take care of your postpartum body and learn about this stuff from the beginning and not wait until it becomes an issue. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about your pelvic floor and why this is really important for you. So yeah, let's go.
Okay, so Nicole, for all of us who don't know, what exactly is the pelvic floor and what purpose does it serve?
So a lot of people know that the pelvic floor plays a role in continence and sex, and that's really the most that the general public really thinks about it for. Your pelvic floor is actually a group of muscles that forms kind of like a hammock on the base of your pelvis, and its main role is to keep your organs in. So if you didn't have your pelvic floor, your uterus would fall out, your bladder, your rectum. So really important to have a strong functioning pelvic floor. It also plays a really significant role in core strength, and that's something that most women really have no awareness of. So if you're an athlete, well actually really just if you're an everyday person and you need to use your core, as we all do, it's going to be really important for you to make sure that these muscles are functioning well at all times, because not only can you have issues related to continence and pain, pelvic pain, but you can also be limited in your potential as an athlete.
Okay, awesome. Wow. I thought I knew some about my body, but I really did not know all of that about the pelvic floor. Can you tell us why, especially after giving birth, the pelvic floor is so important, and pelvic floor physical therapy is so important after you give birth?
Sure, yeah. So the truth is a lot of women actually have issues with their pelvic floor before pregnancy, and some women who never have babies might even have pelvic floor dysfunction. But when you're pregnant and you're carrying the load of a baby for 9 months, and you have more relaxin in your body, you have pressure pushing down on your pelvic floor, pushing down on your abdomen, any of those issues, if you had them already, are going to become worse. And if you didn't have them at all, you might even develop them. And it's really, it's not a weird thing to have pelvic floor dysfunction. It's really, really common, but it's not normal. It's not something you want to just accept and go on with your life with. But not only just the 9 months of being pregnant, but also labor, that bearing down, if you're also kind of potentially going to damage those muscles. There's a lot of research that's been done that says that pregnancy and labor, labor is like an extreme sport. That's really intense stuff. So you go and push out a baby and you think you're just going to get back into your everyday routine. That's really not at all the case. And you really want to make sure that you get yourself checked out after you've delivered your baby, to make sure that there isn't any damage to your pelvic floor.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know when we had talked previously that there was this idea that it's after you break your arm, of course you're going to go and get it checked out and figure out how to best get it back into working condition. And after somebody has a baby, it's that's a very traumatic thing for your body to go through. And it seems like so often, you know, new moms are sent home and it's kind of like, oh, all right, you had the baby, you got through the tough part, and like, then you're on your own. So.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of women don't even know that there is such thing as pelvic floor physiotherapy. A lot of doctors don't refer women to this unless they have extreme circumstances like pelvic organ prolapse or really severe incontinence. So women mostly just go back for their 6-week checkup, and the doctor gives them the green light, and they say, you know, go ahead and go back to what you're doing, which is completely not the case, because 6 weeks is completely arbitrary. Basically, it's like, okay, you stopped bleeding, go back and do whatever. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in your body that, you know, this was 9 months worth of changes. You're not going to be back to where you were pre-pregnancy in 6 weeks, especially after not really having done anything to rehab your body. So yeah, I mean, it's something where, like, really we need to get the word out to women that you can ask your doctor to go see a PT. You should ask your doctor to go see a PT. In many other countries, that's common practice. In some countries, it's actually part of your standard postpartum care. You just do it. It's like any other type of doctor's appointment. You get your 6-week checkup, you get your PT referral, you go. So it's not like a thing to be ashamed of. And this is like, we're all doing this. We all have babies. We all went through this with our bodies, and we need to just do what's right for ourselves and make sure we get on it. And you know, sometimes you have to be your own advocate if the healthcare in your country isn't really giving you this advice, and you need to kind of take the initiative and go and seek out an expert.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's so important that we're discussing the pelvic floor today, because it is something that unfortunately it can be kind of an like people find it to be either an embarrassing topic to talk about, or they just have no idea because they don't have the information that it is something that needs to be talked about, that it really is part of your like postpartum recovery. And it's such a key component to it that especially in the US, I feel like I never hear people talk about it. And so we are changing that, you and I, one pelvic floor at a time. We're going to change the world. So I'm interested to know, like, what are some suggestions that you have for new moms to like, well, yeah, just what are some suggestions you have for new moms?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, number one thing would be to be checked by a pelvic floor physical therapist, but there's a ton of stuff that you can do on your own, and there's also a lot you should know before going to see a PT. Just like any other type of physical therapist, not everybody is going to do as good of a job as everybody else. So there are some pelvic floor physical therapists that are still of the mindset of just do your Kegels and that's it. And the pelvic floor is so much more complex than that. It works with other muscles. It works with your diaphragm, your transversus abdominis, your multifidus muscles. There's a system that allows you to use those muscles correctly and functionally. And if you're just going to sit there and just squeeze your pelvic floor and, you know, sit in the car and do your Kegels, that's not going to help you repair those muscles. In fact, that can actually make things worse. So, you know, number one, you know, be your own advocate and just, you know, you can do a little bit of research. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to read textbooks on the pelvic floor, but know what you're dealing with here so that when you do go to a PT, you can ask the right questions. If your PT is just telling you, do your Kegels, well, that's probably a good indication that you want to find somebody else. So that would be the first thing I'd say to do. And then the things that you should be looking for that the PT should be talking about, number one is alignment and posture. You're not going to get a really good response from your pelvic floor and be able to strengthen those muscles postpartum if you have really lousy posture. So what a lot of women tend to do, let me just fix this, see me? And especially this is the case when you're a mom. We stand kind of like this with our butts tucked under, and when we're doing that, you know, sometimes it's because we're holding our baby and the baby's heavy. But when we're doing this, what happens is our pelvic floor gets in this position that it really can't work to its best ability. In fact, you can't really, if you stand like this, you try to squeeze your pelvic floor, that's not really going to happen because you're in this kind of tucked under position where your pelvic floor is already kind of tight. You can't really relax the muscles. So we want to make sure that we untuck our butt so that you're you're getting this neutral spine here. The other thing that you want to do is make sure you're not flaring your rib. That's again gonna cause an issue with your alignment and your ability to access your pelvic floor muscles effectively. So if we're standing with our butt tucked under and our rib cage flared, like basically we're kind of screwing up our ability to use these muscles. So alignment is key, focusing on finding that neutral posture, which is your ribs right over your hips, your butt untucked, your weight in your midfoot. And then breathing is really, really important. Your pelvic floor muscles work with your diaphragm. So if you're not breathing properly, I mean, for example, if you're like the kind of person who sucks in your stomach and breathes at your chest, you're gonna end up with what's known as a hypertonic pelvic floor. So that means your pelvic floor muscles are so constantly contracted that you can't use them properly. So we have to get in the practice of first of all, breathing with our diaphragm, and second of all, making sure to relax, because if you're constantly tightening up and sucking in your stomach and trying to, make yourself smaller, your butt's tucked under, your tummy's tucked in, your pelvic floor muscles are going to be like this all day long, and they're not going to really work effectively. So we want to stand in our neutral posture, and then we want to really focus on breathing with our diaphragm. So what that's going to look like is a nice expansion of your belly as you inhale, and then you're going to notice your belly draw in on your exhale. And it should almost feel like you're opening up an umbrella as you're inhaling, and that umbrella is closing as you're exhaling. So once you get the posture and alignment down, I know this is a lot for you guys, you get the breathing down, then that's when you would start to think about, okay, this is where my pelvic floor can now do its job. So when you're exhaling, you want to imagine that you're lifting a bean or a blueberry, something like that. Imagine like you're picking that up with your vagina. So you can also think of it like stopping the flow of urine. Anything that kind of gives you that visual of like lifting something up. What you don't want to do is tuck your butt under or compensate with your posture, suck in your stomach. Your pelvic floor is not an abdominal muscle. It's not a gluteal muscle. Pelvic floor is, as I mentioned, like the base of your pelvis. So it should feel like you're lifting something up. And that's like really the very basic foundation of being able to access your pelvic floor muscles. Once you are able to even find those muscles, then you can start incorporating them into more functional movements and exercise. I know I'm talking a lot about this because there's just no way to not say some of this stuff, but when you do, once you figure out how to even use that system properly, that's when you can start thinking about exercise. What you'll notice is that there are a lot of exercises that are inappropriate for newmoms to be doing. And these are the kinds of things that, unfortunately, a lot of trainers are going out and saying, get your body back, you just had a baby, get your abs back, do your sit-ups, do your crunches, do your planks. All of these things are not good for a healing pelvic floor. Pelvic floor dysfunction is also related to something called diastasis recti, which means that your abdominal muscles, your rectus abdominal muscles have separated. Well, they're actually already separate, but the space between them and the tension of that connective tissue has gotten to the point where you're not using those muscles effectively. So if you have issues with diastasis recti or pelvic floor dysfunction, and you go ahead and you do sit-ups, crunches, planks, that separation can become bigger. Your pelvic floor dysfunction can become even more of an issue. You can have that pressure that is on your abdominal wall from doing the crunches and the sit-ups and even the planks, like the weight that's pushing down into your abdomen, is going to cause you to have more issues. So it's not a way to get your body back. It is not a way to heal your core or even strengthen your core. What you want to do is, like I mentioned, seek out advice from an expert and learn how to implement what I've been talking about, how to use your pelvic floor muscles instead to try to rebuild that core strength. I know I just talked a ton, Hannah, so I'll let you go back and you can follow up with any questions you have about that.
No, Nicole, that was absolutely awesome. You did a great job of describing it. And as you were talking about the posture and all of those different things, I went through it too. And it is interesting to feel like when you're like trying to like pick something up that I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I did like tuck my butt under. Okay, I have to fix that. And it was cool being able to feel like it felt like I was feeling a different part of my body, which I think hopefully was helping to identify actually like what would be useful for my pelvic floor. So I know that all the viewers are gonna love that. It was easy to follow, and you did a good job describing it. So one thing that I was curious about is that you were saying, you know, so many of these like baby boot camps are like, get your body back, dive right back in, and that can actually be so detrimental and unsafe, and it can cause more problems. Is it really just on a case-by-case basis when it's safe for like a new mom to start integrating like some movement back into her daily routine, or is it safe around the 6-week mark, but it's very important to focus on like these pelvic floor things first?
So the reality is it is a case-by-case basis whether you're going to have pelvic floor dysfunction, but at least half of women who are pregnant are going to have some type of issue. So whether it's just a little bit of leaking, you know, a small diastasis, most women will find that, you know, their bodies, well, all women are going to find that their bodies are not the same. So there's no reason that any woman should go back at 6 weeks and start doing a boot camp. Nobody should be jumping, running, lifting heavy things, bearing down, doing any kind of like breath holding with weightlifting techniques. Nobody should be doing that kind of stuff. You know, some women are going to progress more quickly. Some women are going to find that, okay, this stuff really clicks. Like, you know, maybe if you never had pelvic floor dysfunction pre-pregnancy, this is just a matter of learning that strategy and implementing it into your workouts, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is great, now I get it. Some women are going to find that, yeah, like this is actually really hard and it's not coming naturally to me, and I need to maybe slow down before I get back into my regular routine. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely variable, like, you know, depending on your unique situation, your pregnancy, your workout history, your genetics, all kinds of stuff. But there's really no rush. Like, it's like, why are you guys doing these baby boot camp craziness things anyway? I mean, that we just carried a baby inside us for 9 months, and now you know, your main role is to take care of that baby. Your main role is not to get your body back. You are not going to get your body back. This is your body. I know it, you know, might be hard in the beginning, but, you know, respect that. Respect the fact that you just did all of that work. You just did an extreme sport. So, I mean, you owe it to yourself to recover and to take the time to do that, and, you know, in a healthy way. Yeah, so, and one more thing I wanted to point out. I know I mentioned before, you know, just the alignment and the breathing and the strategy of using your pelvic floor. I didn't really give you guys an example of how you would use this in a functional movement. So I just want to go back to that really quick, because I think some of you might be like, okay, but then what? I did say that the pelvic floor plays a really significant role in core strength and core stability. So I want to give you guys an example of just how that works in your everyday life. And this might be something you guys can really grab onto and kind of at least use this when you're dealing with, you know, your everyday routine. So one of the things that I've learned from Julie Beebe, who's been kind of my mentor through all this, she's an amazing physical therapist, is a strategy called blow before you go. And that means that you're exhaling and engaging your pelvic floor before you start a movement, not as you're moving. So a lot of times in traditional weightlifting, we're taught to exhale as we lift. It's almost true. You do want to exhale as you lift, but you want to exhale before you lift, so that you're setting up yourself to have that core stability before that movement begins. So in the case of using your pelvic floor with that, you would want to exhale, engage your pelvic floor, and then do the movement. So you continue to exhale and engage while moving. One thing that we do nonstop as moms, we do it all the time, is pick up our children, right? So this is a great example of how you would implement all of this, the strategy of blow before you go, this idea of alignment, not tucking your butt, all this stuff. You're going to pick up your kid or your groceries or whatever it is. You would want to make sure that as you're going down to pick up your child, you're inhaling and relaxing your pelvic floor. You're also going to make sure that you're not tucking your butt under you. So you're keeping a nice flat back, hinging, not tucking under. And then when you get to the bottom of that position where you're about to do that movement, you want to exhale, engage your pelvic floor, and then rise up to standing. So before you start to pick up your child, blow before you go. Lift that bean or blueberry or whatever it is. Exhale. And then rise up to standing while you continue to keep engaged and continue breathing. Instead of holding your breath, instead of trying to, you know, tuck under and just grab whatever you can to get that stability, you're really getting a ton of support from your core when you use your pelvic floor and your breath. So that's a great way if you have issues with like low back pain or leaking when you're lifting things to prevent that from happening. So really, I mean, if you just want to take home one thing that you can just practice on your own, that would be a good one for you to kind of start implementing now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's definitely something that would be super easy to put into like your day. And it is true, new moms, they pick up so much stuff that it's not even like they're having to add something into their day. It's just, this is one like simple thing that they could incorporate. So I love that, Nicole. That was awesome. Now that you've given us so much incredible information about the pelvic floor and ways that we can strengthen it just in our everyday lives, I know our viewers are going to be excited to know more about you and to be able to connect with you and potentially even work with you. So I want to go through our quick overview so that all the viewers get all the details that they need. So we're going to start with, what's the name of your business?
So my business is Mama's Gotta Move Incorporated.
What are you all about, like in a few sentences?
Okay, so I talked a ton about the pelvic floor today, but I'm actually about a little bit more than that. Pelvic floor and postpartum healing is where it starts, but I'm really all about just helping moms not only recover from pregnancy and be able to move their bodies well after having a baby, but just find opportunities to move well in their everyday life, get them to love exercise, get them to be happy about their bodies, help them find something that's going to sustain them, that they're gonna want to do forever for the rest of their life. So, you know, just trying to put all the pieces together, make time for yourself, and take care of your body.
That's wonderful. And you kind of touched on this as well, but what's one snippet of advice you'd most like to share with like brand new moms?
Just give yourself time and be your own advocate. I mean, you don't, there's no rush to get your body back. And also, you know, when you're sitting there nursing and you're like not really doing a whole lot, start reading about some of this stuff. You guys, it's like, you know, find experts that you trust so that you can understand a little bit about what's happening with your body. And that's going to help you a ton.
That's awesome. It is true. Just looking for that information is an awesome step in the right direction as well. And so how can we find you? Could you share your website or your Facebook group, just so that everybody can connect with you?
So my website is just mamasgottamove.com. It's mamasgottamove.com. And my Facebook page is facebook.com/momsgottamove. So I post a lot of stuff on my Facebook page, whether or not you live local to, I train out of the Chicago area, River Forest, Illinois, but whether or not you're local to that area, I post a lot of videos, tips, you know, just positive, encouraging kind of little stories. I do a lot of stuff like that. So I'd love to have you guys come over and join me and just, you know, ask questions if you have questions, be informed, learn from other people, and yeah, let's, you know, just get started on taking care of your body.
That's awesome. And one thing that I did want to touch on, because I don't think I had the opportunity to ask you yet, is that you do have the opportunity to, viewers do have the opportunity to work with you if they're local to you, correct?
Sure. Yeah, I don't do any programs at this point. So right now I'm doing all of my training kind of based in the Chicago area. I do 2 different postnatal classes, a mom-baby class that is not a boot camp, and also just a general, you know, kind of introduction to all this postpartum physical fitness. And then I also do personal training and I do at-home workout design. So, I mean, if you live locally, I'd love to connect with you. And even if you don't and you want to connect with me, and I can give you some recommendations on other people who do really good sound postnatal fitness programs, definitely hit me up, find me on Facebook, and I can kind of share some of those resources with you, because I'd love for you guys to get a good start with this stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all of this information today, Nicole. I feel like I learned so much about the pelvic floor and just how to implement like simple things in my everyday movement to strengthen my pelvic floor. I will make sure to have your information in the email and the Facebook group so that all of our viewers out there can connect with you and join your Facebook group. I really appreciate that you took the time to do the interview, and I am excited for all of our viewers to know more about you and and their pelvic floors.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And like I said, you guys feel free to reach out to me if you have questions about what I just talked about, because I know that I couldn't talk about everything. I'm sure there are some holes here and there that we didn't get into all the answers of the questions you might have. So yeah, definitely reach out. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our expert interview today. And until next time, enjoy your day.